welcome to our talk. So we're going to be talking about open source software at the Census Bureau. My name is Emily Vertarich. I'm a geographer at the Census Bureau. I currently am the project manager for the Geographic Update Partnership Software, or GUPS, and we're going to get into a little bit more about that, but I'll let Leah introduce herself.
Yes, my name is Leah Nohar. I am with Gunnison Consulting Group. We have had the great fortune of partnering with Census for almost a decade to build what we're going to talk about today. And also, the really cool thing is, like, most of the people who work with us every day are here. So if you guys want to just wave your hand so that way if people have questions, they can talk to you and not to us.
All right, so like I mentioned, GUPS, how do we use it, or how do we use open source at the Census Bureau? And that's GUPS. So it's an Agile GIS solution built on one custom plugin with an open source QGIS framework to support 12 programs. So that's our standalone application. And on the slide, you can see we have a standalone and a web application that provides participants with the ability to update geospatial data and attributes for our Census Bureau programs. So we're using core reusable GIS tools. So GUPS is a user-friendly, topologically accurate GIS tool with customized business logic and validations for each census program. For a standalone application, the tool is Python built on QGIS, like I had mentioned. So what does GUPS do? It loads, edits, and displays geospatial data, as well as generates output files that the Geography Division, can use to update their databases. So a little bit further into what it does, it allows users to update their addresses, address lists, features, and feature attributes, as well as our legal, statistical, and administrative boundaries.
Okay, so I've been in multiple presentations where QGIS is talked about, so I know it's not news to anyone. And basically, getting QGIS approved as our standalone framework at Census Bureau was one of my first experiences getting open source tools approved at the government. But kudos to Geo for pushing it through. It did take, legal conversations and all kinds of things. But now what we do is we essentially have an installer that we push out, and end users are able to get QGIS installed, as well as the GUPS plugin that lives on top of QGIS. And so we're giving away QGIS to local governments, tribal governments, every time someone needs to respond to one of the geographic programs. So it's really cool. And we don't leave anything out. So, if grass comes with QGIS, the version of QGIS we're using, they get that too. So, one thing I think is cool is that we get to say that we're a part of this community trying to get open source more and more acclimated to even state and federal governments, state and local governments. And for our backend on the standalone side, we are using SQLite. Our newer tool is the GUPS Web tool, which has been something we've been working for in the last probably 3 years, 2.5 years. You'll get to see it in a little while. Emily's going to do a demo, so stay tuned for that. But on the front end, we are using OpenLayers and Angular framework. And then on the back end, we are using GeoServer, as well as Postgres, which also I heard about earlier today. So hopefully this will be something that everybody's familiar with. In the middle tier, we're using Django. And something cool that we have been able to do as well is allow users not only to view maps on the web, but also to do manual editing. So we are coupling open layers in order to allow users to be able to actually update area features, update lines, and you'll get to see a little bit of that as well.
Okay, so Leah talked about the open source, and I'm going to touch more on what the benefits are, especially for federal government, and kind of how we've pushed it to our management and anyone involved in the federal space on using open source. So first, it allows for updates and enhancements and extensions of the source code. We can scan the source code for added security in the federal environment. If some of you were here on Fed Geo Day on Monday, I was part of a panel that discussed kind of how we're using security and how that kind of plays a role into open source. So that's a big kind of talking point for federal government and using open source is how can we make it secure to our standards. Another one, flexibility and updates to software versions. We're not set to a rigorous and strict schedule for updates. We have that flexibility to make sure that we're updating at a time that makes the most sense for our software and our application. Access to free support of large community of users. I know there was a talk here earlier about trying to call help desks and not getting any answers. The benefit of open source is you can just go to any GitHub or any other location and you can get free support from those users. Use and redistribute without licensing costs. I don't think I have to explain that, especially coming from the federal government. You know, we're saving a load of money by using open source and not sticking to proprietary software. So that's a big touch point for this. And then finally, benefit from leading edge innovations in the community. What open source is doing is huge, and the fact that we're able to leverage that is also really, really big and really beneficial for us. There's one that's not on the screen, but I want to bring up is just being able to provide a GIS solution to our partners. So that's our state, local, and tribal governments for free. We can provide them with a GIS solution for them to submit their updates free of cost to them.
Yes, and for those who are not familiar with the Census Bureau, it is definitely an Oracle shop. It is definitely still an Esri shop. So one thing that we've learned when we were building our architecture or planning it out, how are we going to actually move all the features that we have in standalone to web, is that we are running against some lack of knowledge, some resistance, because I don't know what Postgres does. I don't know how to support it. I'm on the database team. I have no idea. Our software only really compiled well on Ubuntu, which was not an approved operating system. They only have Red Hat as the Linux system available at Census Bureau. So how are we going to do all the cool things that we wanted to do in that environment? Well, we end up going cloud native and getting approved to be in a container. So now we can actually say, I know that actually I've heard recently that a lot of people are claiming this, but we heard it in an executive meeting, so we're saying that we were the first cloud native containerized Census Bureau system deployed. So we are in a production environment. You will see a demo from our staging environment, but it is in production as well. And a lot of the technologies that we've been able to use, we have made sure we've made sure, like in a laboratory type environment, that it was safe, that it was secure, that it worked before we ever brought it into like live Census Bureau environments. And we already discussed a little bit about our editing tools. You will get to see those in action a little bit, but we are using Python libraries and PostgIS within our Postgres database. I also wanted to mention that we do use single sign-on through a Census Bureau system called CPAS that uses Shibboleth, which is also, I believe it's open source, right? Yes? No? Maybe? If it's not, I take it back, but I believe it is. And it is an identity management system that we're able to rely on for extra security. So we don't have to do our own, authentication. We actually are able to integrate with a Census Bureau system that's already secured, already passed its ATO process, and we're able to couple with them.
Okay, now for the fun stuff. As Leah mentioned, we're going to do a demo. So let me get that pulled up for everyone. Give it a second. All right. So this is GUPS Web. Like we mentioned, our standalone tool is built on QGIS, but with our web application, we had the ability to customize it and, get our branding that we need for the Census Bureau and other things that we wanted to give it, the look and feel that we wanted, but also following the guidelines that were presented to us. So let me log in. So as Leah mentioned, we do, I cannot type and talk at the same time. Okay, as Leah mentioned, we partnered with the Telecommunications Office as well as the Office of Information Security at the Census Bureau to get that shibboleth single sign-on. So we utilize that as kind of our initial screening for applicants. One thing that we've integrated into GUPS as well is we also have a user database that we can invite and remove users from. So kind of the added security, just because a user has a CPAS account or has this account with the Census Bureau, anyone can register. You kind of need that second vetting process to get access to the application itself. So looking at the application on our dashboard, we have our map management as well as our recent projects. So recent projects are based on our users and whatever program they're assigned to. So I know I mentioned earlier there are 12 participant programs that use GUPS at the Census Bureau. Right now we have the School District Review Program, or SDRP, inside of GUPS Web, as well as the Boundary and Annexation Survey, or BAS. So those are our universes that we have so far, and we're going to work to 2030 to build up those additional 10 programs into our web-based application. So map management, what's nice about map management, and I will say I have the ability, I'm a super user, so I can do pretty much whatever I want in here, but we do have kind of role-based users inside the application. So we have users that can only view projects, we have users that can provide updates, as well as collaborators, and then on the census side, we have just census viewers as well as census super users. So in the map management, we're able to customize our maps and our projects based on our users. So for the Boundary and Annexation Survey, one of their requirements was being able to have the same government, but for multiple different users. So the way that that's done is that, I'm gonna just start typing, you can append your project ID onto it, and that's your username. So that's how we're getting that uniqueness to our different projects. And then I'm going to just show you some other fun things that we've done in here. This is our invite user module. Like I mentioned, anyone can register with the Census Bureau for an account, but you need that next step to be able to participate. So this is how we can individually or in mass invite users to different census projects or different programs. Again, from here, it's all customizable, and you can select whether you're participating in the Boundary and Annexation Survey or the School District Survey. Oops. And then from there, you just invite your users. So we have it so that you're sending out an email to the users. So we've been able to customize this to meet the needs of our participants and our stakeholders. Another thing that we have is our manage existing users. So these are users that are already inside our database. We can change their roles. We can remove them from the application. We can pretty much do anything that involves, managing our user database, we do through this manage existing users. I'm going to go to our admin console. So our admin console is created for the Census Bureau, and these users are separate from our participants. And in this, we can load data, we can import user lists in mass. So this is, uploading spreadsheets of data or information that our participants have on who's going to participate. We can load data into GUPS. So we can load specific states or specific governments into GUPS. But really what this is built for is for our internal users, so that our participants, they don't have access to this. This is kind of centralized to the Census Bureau and the Geography Division. All right, now to the fun stuff.
Open the map.
Yeah. So I'm going to open a BAS project. The way that we've designed BAS with our stakeholders is to do automatic change detection. So our participants can take their files. So if they have updates to their census designated places, their county boundaries, their incorporated places, they can take those changes or their shape files and upload them into GUPS, and we'll do the hard work for them. So we'll take whatever they upload and we'll create changes files based off of that. How that's done is through our boundary review tool. So we've built in this boundary review tool that has all the necessary attributes that are required from us and from the participant program. So I can just kind of scroll through here. We have the ability to add attachments. We can comment on it. We can add any legal information that's required. It displays, the area, the perimeter, things like that. We also have built in a filter feature, and I'll just bring this up. So we can look through different review statuses, any change polygon checks. So the way that we do it in our automatic change detection is we have a specific portion of that can determine whether or not something's a potential legal change. And that information was provided by our stakeholders so that we could implement that into our code and then provide to our users. So I'm just going to show you how it looks. Get my T-Rod out of the way, I think. I will say I'm hotspotting right now, so that might be on me. But here we go. So here's one of our changes. So this was determined as a large area change. This is part of a census designated place that was submitted into us. We're able to select on the map. It's going to highlight, it's kind of hard to see, highlight on the map, and it can show our users, hey, this is what's changed. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you want to do with it? So that's kind of what we've done in this program. And then in our school district program, as Leah mentioned, we've started to do manual editing. So right now we have add linear feature, delete linear feature, and one of the things that we've started on is our modify area feature. So I'm in the state of Delaware, and I'm going to just zoom into an area and start drawing lines. So the way that's done through our edit tools, I can, again, this hotspot. There we go. I can add linear features. So here's my line I'm drawing, and give it a second, but there's going to be my new line added to the map. And then from there, I can add it to a school district. I can remove it from the map. I can do a couple different things. So I'm just going to show you how we've done our modify area feature. Again, this is very school district based, so it's very specific to this program, but that's kind of the point. We're going to try to do this for, or not try to, we are going to do this for 10 additional programs, and they have very strict kind of requirements and business rules. So we need to follow what's presented to us. So if I go here, I'd like to add some area to my map. We can select by target area. So if I don't want to search through this list over here, I can just click on the map. It can provide me with that, and then I can say, hey, add this area to my school district. This is accurate. This is what I want. And when I commit it, there's my change polygon. So that's really kind of what we've started with. We have plans to do a lot more. This is just the start. I'm trying to think. I think I covered everything that I...
Yeah, I just wanted to say that while she was drawing the line, like it looks kind of simple, like, oh, okay, you drew a line, but underneath it, it's actually going through doing automated topology checks to make sure any boundaries that are affected, are all aligned. And the face layer that the Census Bureau uses to actually build different geographies is updated as well. So that's why she's able to select this area, which is a census face, and add it to another geography. So.
And I think that's it. I'm going to put our thank you slide up with our emails, but I know we've got plenty of time. We kind of breezed through that. But if there's any questions, if you want me to go back to GUPS and ask specific questions about GUPS Web and kind of how we built it, we can stumble through.